Yesterday evening, this post went live on the Kabam forums, so it's developer thoughts improving Alliance Wars from Kabam themselves, and I must say they've got some good goals. But when you get down to the point about the actual changes and what's coming, they seem completely opposite to what they're trying to achieve in terms of the goals. And I feel like it's just not a good solution for what they're proposing. And essentially, what they're proposing is global nodes coming to Alliance War, and the first one being trialed next season is bleed immunity. So Alliance War-wide bleed immunity. If you've got a bleed champion that's really good, you know it's going to be less good next season. Essentially, if you've got like Archangel, Domino, there's kind of a big old list of characters that are a huge detriment to the next season of Alliance War that people have invested resources in and ranked up and, you know, really invested a lot of time and effort, only to be told by this new global node these characters are going to be less effective and less competitive. And that kind of touches on kind of the big thing that is wrong with the Alliance War improvements, because they want to make the mode, in terms of the pillars and the kind of goals for this, is to keep Alliance Wars dynamic, so no two wars should be alike, encourage counterplay, and keep the mode flexible. But the thing is, in Marvel Contest of Champions, character rank ups are not flexible at all. If you've been playing, you know, since the release of like Act 5.4, so almost a year now, we're going on 11 months, and you've been playing at quite a hardcore level like myself, you might just have like 3 5-star rank 5 champions, 3 of them, and you need 8 characters for Alliance War. Some of the more hardcore people have 4 of them, and I think there are maybe a very small amount of people that have gone just absolutely insane with selling tier 4 basic that might have 5 of them, again out of 8 potential characters. And again, the meta is always kind of shifting in its own way with new character introductions in Alliance War, so in terms of ranking up your strongest characters, like rank ups are not flexible at all. In terms of character acquisition as well, you don't get to pick what you get, so there are a lot of problems which we're going to pick apart in this post. And also, being a man of constructive criticism as well, I'm gonna propose a counter change which I thought up that I believe actually would solve the problem, and and kind of keep to the goal of all of these pillars and kind of changes and what they envision Alliance War to be. But anyway, before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's talk about kind of the pillars. Just recap. So as we push this mode forward, we want to measure our changes against a set of criteria that we will feel will shape Alliance Wars into a more engaging and strategic mode. It's important for us to define these pillars so we can ensure that any changes we make align with our long-term vision for Alliance Wars. So again, it's to keep the Alliance Wars dynamic so that no two wars are similar, encourage counterplay so there are good defensive tactics, and you're always thinking about strategy and stuff, and keep the mode flexible so it's yeah, not always the same encounters. But we're gonna give the elaborated points from Kabam's perspective on all of their points. So keep Alliance Wars dynamic. So this pillar focuses on what we want our future state wars to look like. No two wars should be alike. Summoners should be able to use a wide variety of champions from their roster on both attack and defense, and find value in the majority of their champions. When we first started building Alliance War, our goal was to create an environment where summoners could utilize their skills on champion roster to create challenges for their opponents to overcome. However, as the feature matured, it became clear that a few select champions dominated on defense, while others would completely decimate the map on offense. As new champions join the contest, some of them may enter the Alliance War meta. However, the rate of adoption is slow and is restricted to champion releases, as well as the time it takes for summoners to rank up these champions in order to test their potency in Alliance Wars. This has led to a stale meta where most top alliances utilize the same few champions on defense and offense. And again, just to very clearly state, this is a fully Kabam created problem here of having insanely overpriced featured GMCs with incredibly low drop rates, removing the 15k featured crystals in terms of new characters coming out so that they could sell more featured GMCs, and also putting out wonderful champion upgrade offers like this. $99 for 10% of a tier 5 basic that we saw barely a month ago. So yeah, just again, that is a very Kabam created problem, but it is a problem at the moment. You know, new characters, they take a while to acquire, and they take even longer to pimp out, especially to kind of that rank 4, rank 5 level. So what they are working towards is fostering an environment where different types of champions become viable throughout different Alliance War seasons. Doing this will help achieve a dynamic environment where both defense and offense could have a new compositions and will utilize more of an existing roster. This minimizes the have or have not situations surrounding Alliance War meta dominating champions without making any of them less valuable as well. And I find that final sentence incredibly laughable. That is an absolute joke. I cannot believe that actually got put in this. It actually does the opposite by making, you know, adding in your very first node of, you know, no opponent is going to be able to bleed. Everybody is bleed immune. That actually makes it a more of a have or have not situation, because if you know, have invested in a lot of characters that have bleed abilities, and somebody like a Killmonger is maybe your Medusa killer, or, you know, a Blade is very, very helpful for decimating for all of those mystics and various fights there. And, you know, there's a very long list of bleed champions there, but it essentially means if you have not got somebody like a Starknight, Spider-Man, a Corvus, a Magic, those characters that are, you know, don't rely on bleed, it just creates even more of a situation where if you have the specific character, you are at much more of an advantage by putting everybody else at a disadvantage by introducing nodes like global bleed immunity. So yeah, that seems really, really stupid, and also without making any of them less valuable as well. Well, if you're taking bleed away from a lot of characters, that is going to make them less valuable by definition. You know, it does have a lot of effects in terms of damage output, and especially when some of the lower tier champions, to a certain extent, I mean, well, not super low tier, but, you know, for example, like Killmonger, what is it? It struggles to kill high value Medusas on certain nodes, especially when it comes to boss nodes within the time frame, and removing his bleed is going to put Killmonger back on the bench, or maybe Alliance War defense forever, like Captain America completely removes his ability accuracy utility. And then there's just loads of different stuff for all the different characters. Symbiote Supreme really gimps that character. Archangel just removes his effectiveness. Domino, what is it, gets rid of the really, really big bleed, which I've seen some people use very cleverly to get around node 30 Killmonger, just with an insane bleed shot there. Sorry, node 29 Killmonger. So yeah, just that line is incredibly laughable, to say the least there. So the next one is encourage counterplay, going hand in hand with keeping the mode dynamic. Encouraging counterplay means encouraging more strategic decisions to be made when choosing how to counter an opponent's challenges that have been placed. Since the Alliance War meta has become stagnant, summoners will have little opportunity to overcome challenges strategically and are placed in a have or have not situation. If you have the necessary champions, there is little to no reason to bring anybody else. Moving Alliance War toward a more dynamic environment will open opportunities for more champions to be viable. This allows more variety on defense, which in turn will require more variety in offense. We want summoners to find value in both the depth as well as the breadth of your roster in Alliance Wars. Again, it's that thing with dynamic stuff, is that resources are so incredibly restricted. You know, everything is, even like gold, man. I'm so incredibly thirsty for gold. I can't rank up even a lot of the characters that I want to rank 3 at the moment without excessively grinding stuff like Arena, but really kind of the big thing when it comes to endgame Alliance War is stuff like Tier 2 Alpha and Tier 5. It's not anywhere near common enough that you can just shuffle it around like every 6 weeks, every single season. And having this kind of lottery of like, oh, are my top champions going to be completely gimped this season? Or have I, you know, missed out on the what is it, the global node slap hammer there? So yeah, this just seems just really counterintuitive to the practicality of what they've put forward. And then finally, keep the mode flexible. This is already well underway with the addition of seasons. The new cadence of seasons allows us to make changes to the mode more often. The ability to make a change doesn't apply to the mode, but also to summoners. Don't worry, with each change we promise to allow summoners to see what we're changing and why ahead of time, especially if those changes encourage long-term investments like rank ups. So issues and solutions, meta champions versus diversity. So issue 1, as we mentioned above, a lot of Alliance Wars have been won by utilizing the same top champions on both defense and offense teams. While it's great that we have different champions that fill different roles, we want there to be more strong alternatives. Currently, summoners who are lucky enough to collect certain champions will have a large advantage over summoners that haven't. Surprise, surprise there. Milk the whales. The most seasoned summoners who have the largest rosters have no means to utilize the breadth of their roster effectively because, you know, rank up materials are also incredibly stingent at the moment, and this does not mess with our goal to keep Alliance Wars dynamic. So yeah, those are like some good points to like raise there, you know. A lot of people that aren't massive blubbery whales don't have the large plethora of new champions, and people don't have the resources to upgrade newer champions. But is the solution to buff the amount of resources so that everybody can have, you know, a multitude of you know, 8 rank 5 champions or even more than that on offense and defense? No, it's to adding bleed immunity. That seems to be the one there. And also the strategic element in Alliance Wars is lacking. Having the right champion and being lucky in the crystal pulls is much more important than we would like it to be. But again, that's a scenario that has entirely been set up as well by Kabam. When you open a 6-star crystal, there is a huge difference in terms of the viability of a character between, let's use a few examples here, Deadpool X-Force, Gamora, Thor Jane Foster, and then if we go over to this side, like, you know, a Corvus, a Domino, a Captain America Infinity War, a Morningstar, it's a world of difference between those characters. And there have been conscious decisions made still to put those characters that absolutely suck and have no viable use at the moment, comparatively speaking, into the crystals. So again, another issue completely created by Kabam. Just let you boys know if you weren't already, you know, potently self-aware of that. Right, what we want to do is add more value to other champions and summoners rosters, aligning this closer with our goals to keep Alliance Wars dynamic and encourage counterplay through strategic decision making. So that is an interesting point there, but it's one way that they're addressing this seems to be a bit of a stat buff. And it's one of those things where champions are a lot more than stats. Utility is a huge thing at the moment. Like, it's so incredibly insane. So I don't really think this one could be properly achieved for, you know, those characters like Deadpool X-Force or Thor Jane Foster or Gamora, making those characters anywhere near as viable as like a Domino or a Corvus or a Captain America Infinity War there, just as a few examples. So yeah, we're going to have the solution, Season 5 update, rotating global buffs. So in order to help facilitate a more dynamic war environment, we're introducing rotating global buffs of Alliance War Season 5. We're going to start off a little slow with Season 5, although our intention is to allow summoners to choose a buff that synergizes well with their defense roster. In Season 5, we'll only be implementing a single set of buffs. These buffs aim to encourage summoners to experiment with different champions that benefit from or strategically counter these buffs. We want to make it clear that these buffs will cycle, meaning they will be active for a season and then get swapped out. Our goal with these buffs is not to inflate the difficulty of Alliance Wars, but to encourage different champion interactions, new strategies for attack and defense, and to introduce new ways to approach encounters. Rotating global buffs will only affect alliances in the Challenger and Expert tiers because they have the widest rosters and we feel that they're best equipped to play with and around these buffs. Once we've rolled out these buffs to our top summoners and analysed their effects, we will evaluate broadening the range of summoners that will experience them. So currently the buffs that they're planning is buff 2 is bleed immunity, so every single defender in the next season is going to be bleed immune starting from the 17th of October, so in 4 days time. We're going to have, 5 or 6 weeks of full bleed immunity on Alliance War defense, as well as amped up. So we've got female champions you bring to this fight receive an increased class bonus effects. Half of this attack bonus is always applied. Specific tuning values will be revealed soon. So basically, your bleed characters don't work, and female characters hit a little bit harder. That's those are the changes that are coming for the very, very first one. I don't know, man. It just seems like such a half-cocked solution there. and I really don't feel like it's going to have a huge benefit to alliances everywhere. I feel like this change is just going to frustrate people even more that have invested very heavily in bleed rosters and characters, and it just seems like a really, really rubbish way to do it. Just from my opinion so far, again, you know, I haven't actually had to practically test it, but it just, I don't know, I just don't really see how these two nodes are gonna in any way move toward the goal of keep Alliance Wars dynamic, encourage counterplay, keep the mode flexible, because even with like the small stat boost and stuff to female champions, you're gonna still need those characters at kind of the rank 5 level or rank 4 level to be like competitively viable if you're bringing them in to fight, you know, insanely stacked like rank 4, rank 5 characters on some huge defense nodes with, you know, stuff like masochism and buffet and all those wonderful buffs that counterplay and stun immunity, bit of evade. You know, there's all sorts of really incredibly fun stuff when it comes to the high tiers up there. So yeah, I think there is like an actual solution for making dynamic Alliance Wars, which I think seems to work quite well, at least in my thinking over it, and would also still allow Kabam to quote-unquote milk the whales. So this would be my actually dynamic Alliance War solution, which would achieve all 3 of the pillar goals. So all 5-star champions, whenever you enter Alliance War, provided they are at least of this level of 5-star, would be at rank 3, level 45. So your rank 4, your rank 5 champions, they would get scaled down there. However, every time your Alliance War starts, you are giving rank 4 tokens equivalent to the amount of rank 4 champions that you have in your roster, up to a maximum of 8, because there are 8 characters in Alliance War, and rank 5 tokens equivalent to the amount of rank 5 champions you have, up to, you know, the maximum of 8 there. So during phase 1, you can use your rank 4 and rank 5 tokens if you wish to power up any of your defenders to rank 4 and rank 5. So everybody in the master bracket is going to take every character up to rank 4, but then there is the decision, because most people have, you know, 2 to 4 characters that are rank 5 at the moment if they are playing in the fairly higher tiers. So it's kind of making that decision of, do you want to use your rank 5 tokens in the defense stage to power up, you know, maybe 1 or 2 or all 3 or 4 of your defenders, or do you want to save them for your offense? And it allows you to have a little bit more flexibility, because you can juggle these characters around, because all of them enter at kind of, you know, any champion that is rank 3, level 45, at least you can use these tokens on to, you know, further upgrade if you want. And rank 3 level 45 is a fairly easy level to get to, and just in terms of the interface, how I would see it working is something like this. You know, you have your like Alliance War defense, for example, and you just like tap on the characters, and there would be like 2 additional buttons, or like, I don't think there are any buttons currently in Alliance War. So yeah, you'd you know, you'd flash up, you'd have this many tokens based on this many characters, and then, you know, for example, if we saw like Carnage here, we'd have the option to press rank 4 and then rank 5 after that, and it would just, you know, take him up there and kind of place him on the equivalent node if we wanted to put him on defense, if that makes sense. So yeah, that would allow you to actually adjust every single war, make different decisions, bring in different champions, and mean that you weren't so tied in terms of the war gameplay to your permanent decisions that you make outside of that. But you'd also be, you know, very encouraged to not only grow your roster and get as many champions as you can, because you can alternate and play about with them, but also get as many like tier 5 basic as you possibly can, because yeah, you want to get up to 8 as soon as possible, and then once they've you know, most of the community has got 8 of them, then I assume they're going to put in 6-star rank 3 champions, so then you can, you know, do a whole token based system for those to alternate between some of them. And yeah, token ranks do not persist from war to war. So yeah, every single time you start a war again, you have the option to kind of reallocate which characters you would like for that war to be at rank 4 or rank 5. And yeah, it keeps the Alliance Wars dynamic, because you can play about with all sorts of different combos. You're not tied to your permanent rank up decisions. It encourages counterplay, because you can come up with all sorts of crazy tactics based on potentially who you were fighting previously and what you remember from last time. And it does keep the mode flexible, because every single war you can, you know, mess about with your champions that you're using and what rank they are on. So yeah, I think that would, if they actually wanted to achieve those 3 pillar goals, be a substantially better solution, then everything is bleed immune. That just seems like it would be a lot better to me. But hey, what do I know at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen? So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the improving Alliance War discussion. I am not overly fussed about it. They also do have 2 more points about like unfair play in Alliance War, so that's when it comes to cheaters, but also when finding your alliance home as well. So they're going to have improved alliance search tools and new recruitment tools, which are going to be coming, I believe, maybe at some point in the future. But I think, you know, generally speaking, when it comes to MMORPGs, from my experience, the best place to find a good alliance is generally speaking off the game on some sort of forum, because that tends to be the people that are taking it most seriously if you're looking for a very, very good alliance there. But hey, a little bit disappointed, man. These just don't seem like they're very, you know, these changes are just seem to come across as they are punishing people for making rank up decisions which they have no control over. And I imagine every season, if they have nodes that are of the detriment to players by adding in stuff like bleed immunity and removing away tools from characters, it just seems like a really bad way to do it. So I'm not really impressed with this at all. I feel like parts of this post, again, a little bit laughable, because they are kind of raising a lot of problems that are self-created, and they're not really addressing those issues in a way that actually resolves those problems in a practical manner, just at least in my perspective. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Aside from that, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.